Hey everyone, welcome back to the SAScast. This is episode 3 here. Again, I'm your host, Max Moses, here on the MV World Odyssey, joined by another great, delightful group of people here with me tonight. We are here tonight to discuss port life. So, port life is essentially life off the ship. We travel from country to country, we get off at each country that's on the itinerary, and we get to explore it pretty much. So, currently it is November 21st. We are on our way to Kenya. We'll be there in a few days. Kenya is the second to last stop. We're going to do India after Kenya, and then we finish up in Dubai in the UAE. And again, I'm Max Moses. I am a student life student assistant here on the ship. This is sort of my program for the ship while we're here. And I will let the people here introduce themselves and get us started.
Hi, I'm Mel McGregor. I come to you from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. My role on the ship is Field Programs Coordinator. So I coordinate the in-country component of all of the classes that are taken on board, and I'm part of the faculty team.
Right. I'm Pete Seal. I'm a faculty member on the ship. I'm teaching digital photography, documentary film, and communication technology. And this is my third voyage, so it's been interesting going the third time. And I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado. And my word for the voyage is adventure.
Hi all, so my name is Laura Ivoshevich, or Laura, whichever is easier. I'm one of the students on the ship and I come from Croatia.
My name is Jillian and I am also a student on the ship. I'm from Wichita, Kansas, and currently I'm a junior at Wichita State University. And if I had one word to describe my experience so far, it would be ambition.
Great. Thank you all for those intros. And so, yeah, we will start this episode like I have with the past two with words to describe, or a single word to describe our experiences so far. So, Pete, you mentioned adventurous. Why, or adventure? Why would you, or why did you pick that word?
Well, I think the key is if it's a new port or not. So some of the ports I've been to multiple times, but this voyage they're almost all new except for 3. So when you have a new port, it's all new. You have to learn where to go, how to get around, how to navigate, maybe things to do for field programs or field trips. So every new port is an adventure.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And Jillian, you said ambition. Why does ambition come to mind?
So kind of like what Dr. Pete said, I feel like each country has been an opportunity for me to try something completely new, and I'm typically a planner, everything, down to the hour. And Semester SC has given me the opportunity to not plan as much and kind of maybe plan a couple of days before a port or have a few days where there is no plan and just, walking around the port cities and exploring on my own. So.
Wonderful. Mel, what word comes to mind for you for the experience so far?
Intense. And I say that because of the planning aspect. Because there are 70 courses that are taught on the ship, each of those classes has a field class component to it. So I plan anywhere from 5 to 10 programs per port. So the field classes are 8 hours in duration. Jordan, as an example, the port we just came from, Semester at Sea had never been there before. So all of the field classes were new. Our tour operator wasn't familiar with field classes. We had lots of logistical challenges to deal with when it came to Jordan. There were communication challenges, there were tech challenges, there were shuttle challenges, there were transportation challenges. So I like that aspect when everything comes together, but it's intense. I put in a lot of hours. And then if we have a short turnaround between ports, I don't remember which ports, I think we just had a 2-day turnaround. Those are really long days for me to get everything finalized and sorted. But I love it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely no time goes to waste on the ship, but it's, time is flying while we're here. And, like Mel just talked about, there's a plethora of things to do and you're always busy, and especially the professors and the faculty here and the staff, they're always, running around and really trying to make this experience, what it is. So we definitely appreciate all that you all do for us. And Laura, what would you say your word is for this experience so far?
Yeah, I think it sort of relates to the others as well. I would go with adapt, because I've been put in situations in port and at to just sort of adapt with whatever comes my way. I would have certain ideas of what I want to do in ports, but then things happen and I have to change plans. And I actually really like it. I think out of all things, I've grown the most in that aspect because I'm not that good at improvising. But definitely sort of all of the events on the ship that happen while we're at sea are also like sort of, there's so much going on, so you have to figure out what you're doing every day. So yeah, definitely adaptation.
Wonderful. So we had adventure, ambition, intense, and adapt. So 3 A words, pretty cool. So I will share mine as well. Mine, like I've shared in the first 2 episodes, is developmental. I think I definitely am growing a lot on this ship. I'm learning a lot about myself, about the world, about, the people that are on this ship. And every day is pretty much a new day. I mean, there's a routine with classes and, these social activities that you choose to go to, for example, cross currents, like we've mentioned in the previous episodes. But for me, it's like, every opportunity when I wake up is a chance to develop and really grow. So I think each day being very different allows me to sort of develop and learn about myself more. Wonderful. So since we are focusing on port life this episode, Mel, you mentioned field classes and you're very involved with them. Could you give the listeners a little insight into what field classes are and their goals?
Sure. Field classes are 8 hours in duration. Each class on the ship has an in-country component. It's 20% of the final mark. Each professor helps in planning their field classes. So we work with the tour operators. We provide the course syllabus to the tour operator. They come up with an initial plan in conjunction with ideas that the faculty member has put forward. And then we build an itinerary around that. So usually the field classes will go out in the morning. They'll do an activity, we'll have lunch, we'll do another activity, and then the group will come back to the ship. So we've had some really interesting field classes depending on the courses, and maybe I'll let Laura and Jillian speak to their experiences with that. But as the person that's organizing them, I get really excited when I see a really great itinerary with really great meetings, meeting really high-ranking officials in businesses that we actually get FaceTime with to learn about their industries and their companies, and so I really find those rewarding.
Absolutely, and I think what's amazing about it is, going into this, I wasn't actually really aware of what field classes were. I sort of, applied to the program thinking, it's obviously a world experience in a college on a ship, but, once I sort of became aware of what field classes were, I was thinking, oh my goodness, I mean, what an experience to have, and what, I guess the minimum number of courses someone's taking on the ship is 4, and so I guess Global Studies doesn't have a field class, but to have a couple of field classes to go on throughout the voyage, it's been enriching. It's been life changing in order to see locals and talk with them and really get to learn about a culture when we're a part of it. Laura and Julian, do you guys want to maybe give the student perspective for field classes? Anything you wish to add?
Sure. I have had one field class so far that took place. It was the first day a field class could happen in Portugal, and my women's studies class visited a victim advocacy association that primarily helped the population of women who have experienced domestic violence. And it was on the weekend, so of course there was no one in the center, so we just had the opportunity to meet with the director and then believe a marketing professional at the organization. It was really interesting to learn about the work that they do in Portugal and how well known they are, not only throughout just Lisbon, Portugal, and then also throughout the EU. They do a lot of fascinating work, and I'm really excited for the field classes that I have upcoming in Kenya and India.
Yeah, so I've had 2 so far, and I really enjoyed both of them. I think they're a really great opportunity to sort of engage more with specifically the ports that we visit. At least that was my experience, and when I talked with other people, they were really happy with theirs. I think the most recent one was in Greece, and I really enjoyed that one because it was the public speaking one. It was the perfect place to do a field class for public speaking in Athens. And we had a great guide. We had it was probably the best day in Greece that I had there, which was beyond thankful for. And yeah, I think they're really cool, and I'm very excited for the upcoming one because I'm doing marine megafauna in Kenya, so I'm super excited for that as well.
That's a comment we hear quite frequently from students, is that the field class, they're surprised, A, by the lunch that they have, and B, about a lot of students say it's the best experience of their lives or the best field class they've ever had. So Dr. Pete's classes, as an example, are really well planned because Dr. Pete's very involved in the content and he knows exactly what he wants to see. So which was your favorite field class out of the three classes?
It'd be hard to say. They were all good. Credit to Mel for helping arrange these, but we went to the university in Lisbon where they were doing a presentation on digital marketing, and my class fit perfectly with my course in communication technology. It's like you channeled my lecture the week before. It's like you picked up where I left off and carried on with the theme, talking about this as it applied in Portugal. Then in Valencia, we had these 3 crazy videographers who were for the documentary class. They were amazing guys. They took us all around the town, showed us their view of the town, talking to us, and giving demos of production as we're going. They do a lighting demo in one corner, move down 2 blocks, they do a demo on audio, move down 3 more blocks, they do a demo on acting or performing. Then we had these 2 crazy photographers in Croatia who gave us a tour of Dubrovnik while we're walking around. They're showing us the best place to photograph. So that really the locals really made those field classes. They were really crucial to making them fly because they knew the communities really well, and they really did gel with the students, and they really did transform the days.
And they were a lot of fun.
They were a lot of fun. We had a blast.
Absolutely, yeah. I think what's cool about also the field classes, at least the ones I've been on, they took me to places that you may not search on Google. When you search for things to do in a certain country. I had a world music field class in Croatia. Mel actually was on it as well, and we went to the countryside of Croatia. Away from main Dubrovnik. We couldn't see the. I mean, we could. I don't think we could see the water where we were. But we went back in the woods a little bit to this local's house, and they had a restaurant. They had a whole little garden area, and we heard local music and had local performers for us. And I mean, it really brought you into that culture. And not to say that experiences outside, outside the country, actually in the city, are not good, but no, they're absolutely phenomenal. But to sort of get away from the noise and get away from the the tourist sections was really impactful. I also had another one in Jordan, and we went snorkeling in the Red Sea. But what made that one cool was that we got to learn about what we were snorkeling with. If sometimes you just kind of organize the snorkeling trip, you're going and you're just kind of looking in the water and swimming with your friends, sort of thing, and that's great. You can have a ton of fun with that. But to actually know what you're looking for and know what you're looking at is super special, I think. So, like Mel and Dr. P touched on, it's 8 hours that is every minute is important. Every minute is cherished, and the people that are leading it are just so knowledgeable and are just committed to what they're doing. They want you to learn. They want to share their culture. They want you to become part of them. So the field classes have definitely been enriching for all of us, I would say, for sure. Outstanding. So outside of the field classes, what else have we done while in port? Any highlights of the trip so far in port?
I have another one in Greece. Greece turned out to be one of my favorite ports so far. And in part it was because one of the girls on the ship is from Athens, and it was a great opportunity to actually talk and then spend a day with the locals, who actually live there and are sort of our age. And that was really cool. Because I didn't have an opportunity to do that so far, because I'm not even from the part of Croatia that we visited, so that was foreign to me as well. So I really liked that. It was like a definite once in a lifetime, because I was immersed in a sort of everyday life routine that they have, and I got to do that for a day, and it was crazy. We also got to explore sort of neighborhoods outside of the city center by accident. But it was really nice to just sort of see the less touristy areas and just sort of be in the middle of other people's lives. And yeah, it was really amazing.
That's awesome.
I really appreciated the notes that you gave before we went to Croatia. I actually came across the handwritten notes that when you gave your presentation about here's where to eat, here's where to drink, here's talking about the olive trees, here's how it's all non-GMO, I found that note today. So thanks for doing that part.
Sweet.
I had a really awesome experience in Morocco with a field program that I was on. It was for the Impact Cohort, which is like scholarship group on semester at sea, and we are focused on learning about food systems and sustainability. In Morocco, we got to visit a little village called Beni Mellal, and we visited several women's cooperatives, and that was a really awesome experience to learn about the culture of Morocco, all the work that the ladies were doing, and then also each person was assigned a host family. And I had a really awesome experience with my host mom, Nadia, and there was also another guy that was living in the house, and he had just arrived in Morocco. He was working with the Peace Corps, and so I just had a really awesome, like, immersive experience in Beni Mellal, and that definitely would have not been possible. I would have never been able to organize a homestay on my own, so that was a really awesome experience.
Incredible.
Yeah, we also had a great experience in Morocco. We drove up to Chefchaouen, the blue city, because I've seen pictures for years, and I'm a photographer. So the idea of a blue city was incredibly intriguing. So we rented a car and with some other friends drove 5 hours up in the mountains northeast, and it was everything that I hoped. It was this phenomenal. You could not take a bad picture. You had to go 10 feet, take a picture. It's like calico cats against blue walls and people in local costume. It was just the most phenomenal experience. So I think it took about 2,000 pictures in 2 days, but it was remarkable. A beautiful place, great hospitality, great food. It was just an amazing 2 days.
And that's what's so special about this program is that, outside of the field programs and field classes, you're free to travel and you're free to explore the countries that we're in. Like you just talked about, someone driving 5 hours in a car or 4 hours, to a new spot. It's like you're able to do that. Of course, the students aren't, but at least having we can fly places, we can, within the certain countries.
There was a SAS tour to Chefchaouen too.
Say that again?
There was a student tour. There was a tour the students could take to get to Chefchaouen. So there were a bunch of students who were able to get there on a SAS sponsored tour.
Oh, wonderful.
So they had a bus tour. I think they went to Rabat, and they went on to Fez and then Chefchaouen. But they had phenomenal photos too. But you could get there, either driving, or if you couldn't rent, you could always take a SAS trip on the bus.
Right, and that's a great segue into my next sort of discussion point. We touched on the field classes, but we also have field programs on the ship. And field programs, in my opinion, are a whole new level because they can be, I think, up to 3 nights, 4 nights sometimes, depending on the port. And field programs are where you have groups of people that are together who sign up, prior to for the overnights, or you can sign up for day programs shortly before we get to a port. And these programs are similar to the field classes where you are having a very immersive, information-heavy experience. But these programs tend to be longer. They're not necessarily the 8 hours like the field classes are. They can be a couple days, and you really hit some big spots. So I went to a field program in Jordan. We hit Petra, then we did, what did we do after that? We went to Mount Nebo, went to Karak Castle, and it was just crazy to see, I wasn't planning to see, Mount Nebo and Karak Castle, and a couple of the places that we saw. So I would say the field programs definitely, like the field classes, they sort of take you to places that aren't necessarily like, in your typical Google search, which I think is special. So anyone want to share a memorable field program or thoughts about their field programs that they've been on so far, if they have been on any?
We did one night overnight to Split in Croatia, to Split in Trogir. So just a one night overnight. But I liked it because it was quite a bit of driving. I could actually look around. I could actually not have to focus on driving. I could sit back, took a lot of pictures out of the window of the bus. So it was so nice to not have to drive, just to sit back and sleep, whatever you wanted to do. But it was just great to have this sort of thing. There's a hotel waiting for you, dinner, and everything's taken care of. They pick you up at the ship, they bring you back to the ship. So that's to say about the SAS trips.
Right, very convenient, very easy to navigate, and
Right.
and the planning is perfect, and there's definitely not a dull moment in those programs for sure. Yeah. Anything else for the field programs? If not, we can move on.
Yeah, I sort of continue with the unique perspectives of the ports that we get. With the hands-on field programs, I feel like the intensity might not be as like the same as with other field programs, but I really like them. For example, I did a cooking class, again in Greece, but I really liked it because we got to prepare meals from scratch, and there was like a moment for everyone in the field program to bond and sort of get to know each other, but also get to know the people who are like localized there and they're doing the thing that we're visiting. And I thought it was like very, very nice. I really enjoyed that field program. I think simply because we were at one spot for a longer time and we actually got to engage with it in more depth than I did with some other field programs that I did, if that makes sense.
I think the field programs are neat because they're optional. Field classes are mandatory, students have to do them, whereas field programs, it's if you're interested in the program, sign up, pay whatever the fee is, and away you go. So it brings a different group of people together. So faculty, the caregivers, the ship kids, students, anybody can go on a field program, whereas field classes are exclusive to the students in that particular course.
All right, that's a really good point. I was just thinking that, like, the bus that I was on during my Jordan field program, I knew a couple people. My sister was on it as well. But a majority of the people I wasn't, close acquaintances with. And, sitting next to those people on the bus, having conversations with them, it really brought me closer to the SAS community. So that's definitely a cool point for sure.
And having a guide is a big deal. We just did a day trip to Larnaca in Cyprus, and we had a phenomenal guide. Her knowledge of local history, geography, any category was phenomenal. She transformed the day because she was so well versed in the area. She told us so much about what we're seeing that added a whole new element. So the guides are a big deal on those escorted programs.
Absolutely. They definitely make or break the experience, I would say. Yeah, I mean, in most of the buses, I would say, the guides have mics on the front, like we've seen. And they're providing history, they're providing cultural information about the port that they're, the country that they inhabit, which I think is very, very remarkable. Outstanding. So next, what has surprised you about life off the ship? Any curveballs that you experienced? Anything that was a little bit unexpected? Anything you can remember that's been like, I didn't really expect that to happen, or that was interesting that happened that way?
I can answer that one from a work perspective. I was surprised that I don't get to be as much of a tourist as everyone else. So when we're in port, I'm still on duty. I'll still be on call. I'll still be doing dispatch. If I'm on dispatch, I can be within an hour of the ship. So my overnight programs have been limited just in that regard. So on the first day that we arrive, we always meet with the tour operator to go through the itinerary for the next 5 days, 6 days, whatever we happen to be in a port for. And we review all of the field classes, the field programs, make sure that our timing is correct, and then we come back to the ship and then we start dispatching programs right away. So it's less of a tourist aspect and more work focused for me, from my perspective.
Yeah, that's interesting. The word work, as students, it's a pretty unique experience to be a tourist and also, have our classwork. It's definitely one of the more unusual homework, I guess, academic and travel environments that I've been a part of. I haven't, maybe I've traveled in the past and, had an exam to take, or like for one class, maybe a summer class or something, but to actually be in a full academic semester where I'm stopping in each country and then hopping right back on to do work as well is pretty interesting. Yeah.
How do your comparative experiential projects tie in at each port?
That's a great question. I will quickly explain what CEPs are, as Mel just touched on. The comparative experiential projects. So they are required for each class. They essentially are written pieces that can have photos and videos if the professor assigned those. And they ultimately the professors want us to reflect on our experiences that we've had. Obviously through the field classes that the professors host, but also just through our independent travel. So I don't know if you all Jillian and Laura want to touch on the CPs. We're still working on them now, but maybe some that you've worked through already in terms of how they've kind of built up your experience here in SAS.
Yeah, I have been actively working on mine today. By the end of the voyage, I'll have completed 45 pages worth of reflections on my ports because all of my classes have the same exact CEP. But I'm not, cheating and using any of them twice. So I've got 15 individual papers. But I think that those have actually been like a really good opportunity to pay attention to what you're actually learning in your classes and like getting it out of ports. So even if, I haven't had a field class in the last 6 ports, but I've still been able to pull pieces out of what I've learned to reflect that back to my classes. And just like a few weeks ago, I made a nice Facebook post for my family to catch them up on what I've been doing. And a family friend commented and he's like, I don't see any textbooks there. Well, you're right, because as like the semester at sea thing is, the world is your campus, and that comment was like, hey, that's a great observation because this is what I'm learning is just all about the world, and it's really interesting to see how all of your classes have something to be learned about in each port that you're in. So,
and I think they do mold sort of at least how I look at the ports we visit. For example, I do cartography on the ship, and I have trained my eye to just look for maps and sort of what information they provide. And it's insane because I usually don't look for maps, but ever since I've gotten on the ship, it just sort of started happening, and a lot of my classmates have commented on the same thing. But my CPs are all quite different because I have different sort of subjects. I have marine megafauna, cartography, and public speaking. So they're very different formats, and I really enjoy that because I get to sort of focus on different things. And with marine megafauna, I actually work on my CPs where we're at sea, which is really cool, because we just are basically meant to just look for wild animals and see what is around us while we travel. And we're at open sea, which is another thing I probably wouldn't pay as much attention on my own. So, yeah.
Well, as a professor, it opens up a whole series of new options. So for photography, they have to pick a theme and photograph on that theme all the way through. So when they end up at the end of the voyage, they have a pretty amazing portfolio because it's thematic, not just a bunch of random shots. They're along a theme. One guy in the class is doing street art in every port. He had trouble in a bloody room. Or Petra. There's not a lot of graffiti in Petra.
Here's another rock.
No, yes. But they're really having fun with this, working with this one theme every port, just adding to the portfolio. I can't wait to see what they have at the end.
Yeah, I think it definitely, the CPs, they don't force you, but they invite you to compare the ports that we've been to. Going into this, I wasn't, I sort of kind of thought about each individual country and what I would get out of each country, not necessarily how I would compare the countries. So I think now that we've been on the ship for a while, I've, and through the classes that I've been, I've definitely become more aware of how similar the countries we've been to are, and in certain regards. But like we talked about, the CEPs bring the ports together, and I think without the CEPs, it would definitely be harder to connect, because that wasn't necessarily a focus of mine going to the ports. I'm going to each port, trying to look at it as a very, as this is the country that I'm focused on now. And then, of course, the next countries to follow. But the CEPs allow you to go to a country, and they kind of direct your focus to make sure that you kind of take mental notes about what you see in order to kind of get back on the ship and then reflect on those moments. So definitely a crucial part of the academic experience for sure. Great. Okay, a couple more points here, then we will close up. We've touched on it a little bit, but I think Laura's favorite port might be Greece. Is that correct? Maybe based on what we've heard?
Possibly.
Possibly Greece. Anyone want to share their top port and why? Just to kind of give the audience a glimpse into maybe a big country that they enjoyed while we were here.
My favorite port was Morocco, and I already shared a little bit about my Impact Cohort Field program that I had there. But I felt like throughout the time that I was in Morocco, I almost experienced like 3 worlds in just a little country. I did 3 days in Beni Mellal. I also spent 1 day, the last day, in Casablanca, and then I spent 2 days in Fez. And each of those had just something different to offer. Fez was super old, very traditional. Of course, had like a little Medina in the town. You could walk around for hours on end and get lost in the little streets. And then there was like lots of shopping and stuff like that. And then with Casablanca, massive city, lots of people, very scary drivers, and of course the mosque, which was a phenomenal experience just to be able to see that. It was beautiful. I think that Morocco was therefore my favorite country.
My favorite country was Dubrovnik. I was on call for a lot of the port, and so the reason I said Dubrovnik is the favorite country is because we had amazing tour operators, incredible guides. They were just so personable, and it was about the people connections in Dubrovnik for me.
Right. Croatia, your favorite port.
Sorry, yeah.
Dubrovnik, yeah, country, Croatia, yeah.
Yeah.
It can get a little bit mixed up, we go to certain cities in certain countries.
Well, and from a planning perspective, the code is DUB, D-U-B.
Okay.
So
That's your
why
focus.
I refer to it as Dubrovnik, yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually, sort of an interesting point. I started to think about how, the cities we go to, I feel like they could be their own countries in a way. Because the ports that SAS chooses are very, they open up a lot of avenues for people to explore, and there's just, and some people that spend all their time in the city that we port in, and they can get, if we're there for 4 days, 5 days, 6 days for Kenya coming up here, you can spend your whole time in a certain city, in the port city, and have an outstanding experience. So I've heard about people that have, had their whole experience in a certain city, and have loved it. So you may not get every single element of a culture from one city, but you will definitely get a really good glimpse into what that country's about. Great. My favorite port, let me think. I'd probably say Morocco. I've been to Morocco before, fortunately, but I went on a 4 or 5 day independent with a group, independent travel, and it was all like Dr. Pete talked about, with a guide, with the locals who knew exactly what they were talking about, who could provide you with information about the culture, about their country. We went out to the Sahara Desert, had an outstanding time there, slept in the sand the last night. So it was just super memorable to listen to the local music, have local performance there, to eat meals with the locals, to talk to people on the street about who they are and what they bring to the world. So it's definitely a good time being in every country for sure. Okay, we will start to wrap up here, but I would love for each of us to provide some advice for people that may be interested in SAS in the future. So it's interesting, we have faculty members here as well as students. So I will start with Laura and Jillian first. As current SAS students, what would be some advice that you all have for people that are already planning on coming on it? People like, for example, people that are coming on the next spring voyage, or people that haven't heard about SAS. Sort of maybe provide some advice or an idea about what SAS is like for you all.
I think we hear this a lot on the ship, but it really, it's true. Step out of your comfort zone as much as you can. I think this voyage is a perfect opportunity to do those things. It's in every port and then on ship as well, because there's so many people on the ship that have sort of different lives, completely different lives, and the more you sort of get to hear about them and expand your horizons in a way, literally and metaphorically, it really makes your experience on the ship. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think my piece of advice would be to just keep an open mind. I think coming into the voyage, I was worried about what to pack, all the types of what to plan for, everything. And honestly, there is truly like no way to prepare yourself for a semester at sea. I think once you get on the ship, just the whole experience begins. And so just have an open mind about meeting new people, experiencing new cultures, trying new foods, trying new things, and the experience is incredible. So if you're considering it, absolutely do it.
Great. And then Dr. Pete and Mel, I will ask you all sort of a two-part question about this advice. So from the faculty position, from the faculty perspective, what would be some advice that you all would provide to prospective students or students that are planning on coming on it soon?
Well, I would select courses that will let you get out in the world. I mean, if you can take oceanography in the ship, yeah, or a chance to do some explorations, geology, geography, courses that will let you get out off the ship and learn things off the ship. So I'd say choose your courses carefully. In some cases, I know they're prescribed by your program, especially engineering, things like that. But even with that, you have flexibility. These could count as GE courses. And so I'd say maybe branch out more than you normally would at your home school.
Great.
I would echo that too. Take the fun courses, save your electives for your semester at sea courses for sure. And then when you're on the ship, be prepared to go, and just try everything and do it all. It may be exhausting, but you'll have a great time.
Wonderful. And then the second part, I would love for you all to maybe provide some advice for adults that would maybe be interested in being faculty on the ship. Maybe what would be some advice that you all would provide to potential future SAS faculty members in terms of maybe providing them some insight into your experience as faculty members and how they could benefit in their academic professional careers?
I'd just say talk to somebody who sailed before, because it's a very different experience on the ship. I found that you really have to front load your courses, because the last 2 weeks on the ship are nuts. Because everything is Sea Olympics, the alumni ball, they have all these activities planned for the last 2 weeks. So I try to front load all my exams, all my papers, so they'll all be done by the last 2 weeks. That's what I tell faculty, front load as much as you can, knowing the last 2 weeks are going to be really, really intense. I had a professor once, a colleague, who scheduled a paper due on day 23. We had to help her grade because there's no way she was going to finish and get them grades turned in. So that's my advice. Front load, and then you can really relax in the last 2 weeks and really enjoy it. So you aren't so stressed out having to get everything done, wrapped up, graded at the very end of the voyage.
Outstanding.
My advice would be to use your research and study leave time or use your sabbatical to come on semester at sea, because then you'll still have a position to go back to at your home institution, and that this experience will look amazing on a resume, and then everyone who's done semester at sea becomes part of a really unique network that can take you around the world next time you need research partners, as an example.
Wonderful. And that segues into sort of my little bit of advice. I ended the first two episodes with a piece of advice, and hearing y'all's advice is great. I will also add that I think this experience for everyone has definitely been in some way a step out of the comfort zone, like you talked about, Laura. But what's so special about this experience is that this is one of the, I would say, for me at least, the most unique experience that I've had in order to connect with the world. Freshman year of college, I was in a sort of half domestic, half international dorm in the U.S. So that kind of brought me into a sort of a world community. But I think up until now, the SAS experience is definitely one that has kind of cemented itself as kind of like hello world, like welcome to planet Earth, welcome to the people of the world, welcome to life in the world, welcome to the ocean, welcome to a lot. So my piece of advice to everyone listening, as well as the members at this table with me, and we sort of touched on it a little bit, but is to just talk to people, to talk to people that you're not familiar with, talk to people that you're close with, talk to people that aren't your age. We've talked about this in the first two episodes, but we have ship kids on the ship, which are going through elementary school, going through middle school, going through high school, and they have so much to bring to the table. So I think what Semester C provides us with is a way to connect with, people from all different ages, from all walks of life, from all experiences. So I definitely urge everyone listening and the people here to continue to branch out. SAS, like Mel talked about, is an outstanding networking place. So keep pushing on, keep allowing yourself to connect with people, to create memories, to learn about yourself, to learn from others, in order to kind of build yourself as a true world citizen. So with that, I will ask everyone here, is there anything else that we want to touch on? Any other comments that we have for the community listening before we kind of close out?
Check us out on the community tour in spring of 2023. The community tour, the college tour.
The college tour, yeah. That's we can end with that a little bit. So here on the ship, we have what's called the college tour. Join us. They are I'm going to do a poor job explaining it, but they are pretty much a team that is going around the U.S. This is their first international episode where they really dive into the student's perspective, and they have students that share their stories in order to kind of provide information to prospective college students, current college students, former college students, and pretty much college communities, through faculty members or through staff, in order to kind of bring to light the college experience and what that means in terms of growth as a person and growth as a world citizen. So it's pretty special that we get to have a group of outstanding professionals here kind of documenting us and sharing their experiences, but allowing us to share with the world further. So with that, we will conclude there. I want to thank everyone at this table for providing insightful information, for being vulnerable, for being uncomfortable, for being engaging.
Could I just add one thing, Max?
Absolutely.
It's a cliche to say semester at sea is a life-changing experience, but it absolutely is. The students come back from semester at sea different people. You have a whole different worldview, dramatically different worldview, because you've been there, seen it, you've experienced it, and it's a pretty profound thing to see how dramatic this is for many students. Come back different people in the best possible way.
Absolutely. That's a great way to close. I think we all have benefited from this. We will continue to benefit from this, and I know I will. But I hope everyone here will take their experiences and share them with people to give hope to others, to give motivation to others, in order to bring everyone to a place where they can strive to their fullest extent and power through life and make every day a memorable one. So with that, we will close there. I want to thank everyone for listening. This is episode 3. I think this is going to be the last one, unfortunately. But what a great way to end it with a great group of 5 people here, including myself. So with that, we will call it there. Thank you all. Take care.